Well, good morning. Again, I'm Brenda Land. I work for U.S. Forest Service, so I'm kind of an interloper, but I work at a place called San Dimas Technology and Development Center. We're kind of an in-house engineering firm for the Forest Service, although we deal with all the landed agencies, including states, counties, anyone else who comes to us, we share. Part of what I do is collect information from who's doing what, and I am one of the go-to people, so when someone has a problem, they call me and say, well, what can I do? And I say, well, I don't know, but Gary Oy has a solution for that. So what's wrong with a little poo anyway? It's really a natural, necessary, desirable process. All animals produce a little in some form or another, and life as we know it would really cease to exist without a little poo. It's a good source of food for the beasties and buggies. Microorganisms and macroinvertebrates break it down, they get their nourishment in the process, and they leave a rich humus material behind. Plants and other organisms use that rich humus material to grow food that we consume, or animals consume, then we consume the animals, and the cycle of life goes on. And it's a really necessary part of that cycle. It's the original biofuel. It's used in biodigesters to produce gas that you can use for cooking and heating. Some universities are developing biofuel cells where it's used to generate electricity. So what's wrong with the little poo? When the poo isn't so little anymore, that's when there's a problem. When a lot of people congregate in a little area, it's not a little poo anymore. Too many people in narrow climbing routes, narrow river corridors, hiking trails, or just dispersed recreation camps that get a lot of use. Generate way too much poo for the land to assimilate. Poo can contaminate food. Flying insects, they are attracted to exposed poo. Flying insects are attracted to raw food. This is not a good combination. Poo needs to be dealt with to protect human health, your health, our health. Flies and other flying insects are a major source of contamination. Of course, poor hand washing practices is another source of contamination. Poo gets in the water both by runoff, fecal deposits, surface deposits, and rainwater runoff, or animals in the water. Cryptosporidium and Giardia are a couple of the organisms that are zoonotic organisms. Cattle carry it, beaver carry it, people get it. This is not a good stuff to get in the water. Animals drink the water, people drink the water. If it's not treated and filtered, it can make you quite sick from the poo that gets in the water. Protozoa, bacteria, and virus can all be transferred. But where's the privy? What do you do in the backcountry? How do you protect yourself and your environment from the poo in the backcountry? Whatever sanitation option you choose, it needs to keep vectors such as flies, hornets, other flying insects away from the poo. It needs to keep the poo out of the water, and it needs to keep people away from other people's poo. You own the bacteria in your own gut. That's not really a problem, but you don't want the bacteria that's in your neighbor's gut. That can be a really big problem. So effective sanitation options: collect, contain, and treat the fecal material to prevent illness, water pollution, and infecting the wild animals. A lot of our options collect and contain and transport it off-site for treatment. Solutions start at the very personal level. Cat holes. Cat holes can be a very effective option as long as there's not too many people and too limited of an area. You want to be 200 feet away from camp, 200 feet away from water, 200 feet away from the trail. Some areas you can't get 200 feet away from water and 200 feet away from camp. Some pristine environments, you don't want people traipsing 200 feet off the trail. There's personal carryout. The bags, there's several vendors here of the bags. There's also some homemade bags that are used. The hard-sided containers, the tubes and canisters, both homemade and commercially available. These are options at the personal level. For small groups, you have the rocket box. We have a rocket box vendor back there with an insert. You have the slit latrine, which for group campsites, the slit latrine can be an effective option. Scat machines are great for cleaning containers when you have them available at the end of a rafting trip. Other options for cleaning the containers are trailer dump stations or washing them out at your home. Incinerating toilets, while they may work well in some locations, where I saw some in Alaska, it was an extremely labor-intensive, dirty job burning the barrels of poo. They took in a propane burner, they pulled the barrel out of the back of the privy, and they spent all day burning and stirring and stirring and burning and burning and stirring the poo. And it was not a fun job. The commercial incinerators don't work well for most of the Forest Service backcountry locations. So pits are still a really viable option in some places. It's low maintenance. As long as you have the space to dig the pit and space to relocate a pit, you really don't want to have to dig the pit out if you can avoid it, although there are places that do dig out and reuse the same pit. Moldering privies, and you'll be hearing more about that sometime during this conference, are a really good option. The Appalachian Trail Conservancy has expanded their use, and they're a really good option in some locations. This little ATV trailer, they go in and pull this trailer out and put another trailer in its place, take this trailer to the front country to dump it. You'll hear more, I believe, about this particular dehydrating toilet that I believe is in the Cascade range. Fly out. This is one way to fly barrels out, one by one by one. This is a composting toilet in Yosemite National Park, halfway up the mountainside. It's a very large composting toilet. It works fairly well. It has some heat assist on that roof. However, since it is on a route going up, sometimes people like to throw rocks at the heat collector and break it. And pumping in the backcountry. Yosemite actually has a waterborne system, a flush toilet in the backcountry, and every so often they take a mule train full of barrels in and a vacuum pump, and they go in and they pump this septic system, and then they fly these barrels, these full barrels out. Vault toilets can also be pumped in the same way in the backcountry if that's your best option. There's really no magic. As far as I know, we don't have a ray gun, psh, go away. There's no perfect solution, but there's a lot of different tools to pick from when you're looking at what's your problem and how can you deal with it. And hopefully during this conference we'll all find some more tools to put in our toolkit for how to deal with the waste in the backcountry. Thank you.